Night cycle draped the observatory deck in velvet dark, Vera 9's storms flickering like distant memories. Mira sat on the curved bench, boots tucked beneath her, Kresk's knife sheathed at her hip. The dome above was a bowl of stars, sharp, indifferent, eternal. Tick-Tick curled against her side, wings folded tight, the runt's breath warm against her ribs. His etched scale rested in her palm, runes catching the gas giant's glow. Below them, the stellar creche hummed, soft, alive, no longer a tomb of silence. The mess hall still echoed with laughter carried on vents, hatchlings teaching avian engineers to fold dumplings, janitors trading luminescent spices for seconds. The menu had grown roots, congee for dawn, mapo tofu for dusk, crystal salad for dreams. No more swollen throats. No more strikes. Yet Myra's wrist pad lay dark, the last anomaly logged and neutralized. She traced the scale's grooves. Firekeeper. The weight of it settled in her chest, heavier than gravity. Tick-Tick stirred. Will you stay? His voice was small, stripped of bravado. Until we're big? Mira brushed a knuckle between his horns. Until you can cook for me. She smiled, tired and true. Until you burn the rice and blame the plasma coils. He huffed, a dragon laugh. Ray says I'll be leader one day. I'll make you eat sulfur pepper till you cry. Promise. She tucked a sprig of synthetic basil behind his ear, earth's green against dragon emerald. The scent rose, faint but stubborn. Below, the ship's lights dimmed to ember glow. Kresk's silhouette moved in the kitchen, forearms cleaning with methodical care. He paused, looked up through the viewport, and raised one tentacle in salute. Mira returned it, palm to glass. Tick-Tick's eyes drifted shut. Mama said home is where the fire remembers you. His claws tightened on her sleeve. You're our fire now. Myra's throat closed. She pressed her lips to the soft spot above his brow. And you're mine, little star. The storms of V9 rolled on, thunderheads birthing lightning that never touched the ship. In the quiet, 30 dragon hearts beat in uneven rhythm, some still scarred, all still hungry. Tomorrow would bring new mouths, new memories, new risks. The menu would evolve. The fire would flicker. But tonight, lunch had become the first language of home. And somewhere in the dark between stars, a human hand held a dragon scale, and a promise burned brighter than any bombardment. Dawn bled violet through the mess hall viewports, Vera 9's storms painting the deck in bruised light. Mira stood at the central island, Kresk's mercury knife flashing beside her own battered cleaver. The Clintar's 4 arms moved in counterpoint, 2 calibrated the fabricator, 2 folded synth dough with surgical grace. Between them, a pot of congee simmered, jasmine rice, dragon-safe broth, a whisper of ginger. No sesame. No chili. Just home, translated. Tick-Tick perched on the counter, tail swinging. Smells like clouds, he declared. Rays leaned in the archway, Scar softened in the low light, watching the human and the chef orbit without collision. The pack filled the benches, wings half spread in anticipation. Kresk ladled congee into bowls. Mira crowned each with a plasma-seared egg, yolk runny, white crisp to dragon preference. The first bowl went to Tick-Tick. He inhaled, eyes slitting in bliss. Lunar colony, Mira said. My grandmother's recipe. She fed dock workers after the Mars riots. Race took his bowl next. One cautious sip. His tail thumped once, approval. The pack followed, spoons clacking, purrs rising like a tide. Kresk tasted last, frill flaring in surprise. Texture yields. Flavor lingers. He set the bowl down untouched. Perfection is overrated. The menu evolved through the cycle. Dragon mapo tofu, silken cubes in mild sulfur pepper broth, named for the lost city of Karath. Crystal salad, Clintar greens drizzled with soy ginger vinaigrette, rechristened NWS's tears after the hatchling's delighted squeal. Dumplings, filled with plasma-seared root ears, folded into the shape of Draconis Theta's twin moons. Hatchlings named every dish after ruins. Theralis, Ashen Reach. Memory became seasoning. Mira taught them to roll dough. Kresk taught them to temper plasma coils. Laughter echoed. Tick-Tick's tongue stuck to a frozen dumpling. Ray's tail accidentally flipped a bowl into an avian engineer's feathers. Crew drifted in, drawn by scent and rumor. A tentacled janitor traded bioluminescent herbs for seconds. A crystalline diplomat chimed harmony when the kanji hit its facets. The mess hall became a crossroads, species sharing bowls, swapping stories of lost worlds. Mira watched Tick-Tick feed little S a careful spoonful, the once-stricken hatchling's throat unmarred. Kresk hovered, frill relaxed, forearms resting for the first time in cycles. Your chaos has rhythm, he admitted again, softer. Rays approached, bowl empty. Tomorrow, he rumbled, teach us to cook. So we feed you when you're old. Myra's laugh cracked with tears. Deal. The ship's AI flickered overhead. Morale index, 400% sustained. Requests for human lunch days from non-dragon orphans, 47. Vale's voice crackled through the comm, approved. Expand the menu. Carefully. Kresk and Mira exchanged a look, tentative, then fierce. High five, human palm meeting Clintar tentacle, awkward but sincere. The feast stretched into the next cycle, bowls passing claw to tentacle to wing. The dragon kids had eaten, and the galaxy had tasted home. But in the quiet between servings, Myra's wrist pad pulsed once more. Metabolic anomaly, hatchling wing 3. Trace sulfur pepper variation. Her smile faltered. Kresk's frill snapped upright. The menu was harmony, but harmony was fragile, and the next bite might still ignite. The mess hall's laughter curdled into a single, strangled gasp. 2 hatchlings from wing 3, core and little Ennis, crumpled mid-bite, bowls spinning from their claws. Their necks bloated with the same violet horror that had felled Lyra's clutch. The room froze, chopsticks clattered, tentacles recoiled, wings snapped shut like slammed gates. Myra's heart detonated. She vaulted the table, scattering dumplings. Medbay! Now! Ray's was already moving, scooping core against his chest. Tick-Tick seized Ennis, the runt's weight featherlight in his panic. Kresk's forearms blurred, snatching vials from the counter, leftover serum from the first crisis. Not enough for 2, he barked. The corridor became a gauntlet. Mira sprinted ahead, boots skidding on polished alloy. Gravity plates thudded beneath her, 1.4 G dragged at her lungs like wet sand. Behind her, Ray's roar rattled bulkheads. Clear the path. Crew scattered, avian engineers flattening against walls, janitors retracting tentacles. Medbay doors irised open. The arachnid medic skittered forward, mandibles clicking. Serum depletion, fabricator backlog. Myra's mind raced. Capsaicin again? No, core had avoided the sulfur pepper. She snatched a scanner, thrust it at NYSS's throat. Trace allergen, sesamin lignin, sesame oil residue. Her stomach lurched. She'd reused the pan. Kresk slammed the fabricator with a fist. Override. Prioritize antihistamine. The machine whined, redlining. Too slow, Mira snapped. Kresk, your venom sacs. Neutralize the lignin. The chef's frill flared, then folded in grim assent. He extruded a glistening gland, sliced it with a claw. Amber fluid dripped into a beaker. Mira mixed it with saline, hands trembling but precise. Tick-Tick, hold NYSS steady. The runt's wings shook, tears streaked his scales. Don't let her stop breathing. I won't. Mira injected the cocktail into NYSS's carotid. The swelling plateaued, then, agonizingly, receded. Core followed. Ray's growl softened to a rumble of relief. Silence settled, thick as plasma fog. The medic's mandibles stilled. Stabilized. No permanent flora damage. Mira sagged against the slab, sweat stinging her eyes. 2 crises, both her fault. I fed them poison twice. Kresk's primary hand rested, hesitant, on her shoulder. Your intent was sustenance. My pride blinded me to cross-species vectors. We share the failure. Ray's laid core gently beside Es. His scar twitched. You saved them. Again. The words grated, but gratitude burned beneath. Tick-Tick pressed his snout to Myra's knee. You're still our firekeeper. Myra's laugh cracked. Firekeeper who almost burned the creche down. Captain Vale swooped in, talons clicking. Kitchen privileges revoked pending review. Was Kresk, command Airy. Now. Mira straightened, wiping her face. The feast was ash in her mouth, but the hatchlings breathed. That had to count. As they filed out, Tick-Tick slipped something into her palm. A single dragon scale, etched with clumsy runes. For the human who fights for us. Mira closed her fist around it. The reckoning awaited, but the scale's warmth promised she would not face it alone, and that the next meal would demand more than flavor. It would demand forgiveness. The mess hall's laughter curdled into a single, strangled gasp. 2 hatchlings from Wing 3, Core and Little Ems, crumpled mid-bite, bowls spinning from their claws. Their necks bloated with the same violet horror that had felled Lyra's clutch. The room froze, chopsticks clattered, tentacles recoiled, wings snapped shut like slammed gates. Myra's heart detonated. She vaulted the table, scattering dumplings. Medbay! Now! Ray's was already moving, scooping Core against his chest. Tick-Tick seized Emes, the runt's weight featherlight in his panic. Kresk's 4 arms blurred, snatching vials from the counter, leftover serum from the first crisis. Not enough for 2, he barked. The corridor became a gauntlet. Mira sprinted ahead, boots skidding on polished alloy. Gravity plates thudded beneath her, 1.4 G dragged at her lungs like wet sand. Behind her, Ray's roar rattled bulkheads. Clear the path. Crew scattered, avian engineers flattening against walls, janitors retracting tentacles. Medbay doors irised open. The arachnid medic skittered forward, mandibles clicking. Serum depletion, fabricator backlog. Myra's mind raced. Capsaicin again? No, Core had avoided the sulfur pepper. She snatched a scanner, thrust it at NYSS's throat. Trace allergen, sesamin lignin, sesame oil residue. Her stomach lurched. She'd reused the pan. Kresk slammed the fabricator with a fist. Override. Prioritize antihistamine. The machine whined, redlining. Too slow, Mira snapped. Kresk, your venom sacs. Neutralize the lignin. The chef's frill flared, then folded in grim assent. He extruded a glistening gland, sliced it with a claw. Amber fluid dripped into a beaker. Mira mixed it with saline, hands trembling but precise. Tick-Tick, hold NYSS steady. The runt's wings shook, tears streaked his scales. Don't let her stop breathing. I won't. Mira injected the cocktail into NYSS's carotid. The swelling plateaued, then, agonizingly, receded. Core followed. Ray's growl softened to a rumble of relief. Silence settled, thick as plasma fog. The medic's mandibles stilled. Stabilized. No permanent flora damage. Mira sagged against the slab, sweat stinging her eyes. 2 crises, both her fault. I fed them poison twice. Kresk's primary hand rested, hesitant, on her shoulder. Your intent was sustenance. My pride blinded me to cross-species vectors. We share the failure. Ray's laid Core gently beside Es. His scar twitched. You saved them. Again. The words grated, but gratitude burned beneath. Tick-Tick pressed his snout to Myra's knee. You're still our firekeeper. Myra's laugh cracked. Firekeeper who almost burned the creche down. Captain Vale swooped in, talons clicking. Kitchen privileges revoked pending review. Was Kresk, command Airy. Now. Mira straightened, wiping her face. The feast was ash in her mouth, but the hatchlings breathed. That had to count. As they filed out, Tick-Tick slipped something into her palm. A single dragon scale, etched with clumsy runes. For the human who fights for us. Mira closed her fist around it. The reckoning awaited, but the scale's warmth promised she would not face it alone, and that the next meal would demand more than flavor. It would demand forgiveness. The medbay doors sealed behind the last stretcher with a hiss of pressurized mercy. Myra's lungs burned from the sprint. Tick-Tick's claws clicked frantic tattoos on the deck. The stricken hatchlings, clutchmates Lyra, Vex, and Sin, lay on diagnostic slabs, throats ballooned to grotesque violet knots, wings pinned by autorestraints. The ship's medic, a lanky arachnid from the Veil clade, skittered between them, mandibles dripping counteragent. Myra's voice cracked. Capsaicin peptides. I used chili oil for depth. The medic's compound eyes flicked to her. Dragon flora ferments sulfur, not capsaicin. Your depth is a toxin cascade. Tick-Tick pressed against her leg, trembling. You didn't know. I should have, Mira whispered. Guilt tasted like iron. Kresk burst through the doors, frill blazing. I told you. Silence. Captain Vale snapped from the rafter. Her talons gouged the perch. Chef, synthesize antidote. Vas, cyst. The rest of you out. The medbay became a crucible. Kresk's primary arms extruded venom sacs, secondary hands calibrated the fabricator. Mira fed it her chili oil profile, fingers flying. The machine whirred, spitting vials of pearlescent serum. Kresk injected the first dose into Lyra's neck vein. The swelling subsided like a storm cloud dissolving. Vex followed. Sin's eyes fluttered open, pupils focusing on Tick-Tick's anxious face. Relief flooded the room, but Myra's knees buckled. She had nearly killed them. Kresk's frill lowered a fraction. Your recklessness, he rumbled, demanded my precision. Balance. Tick-Tick nudged Mira. They're breathing. For now, she said. No more human food until we fix this. But the hatchlings had other plans. Word of the near disaster spread faster than plasma fire. By the next cycle, the mess hall overflowed, not just with dragons but with crew. Avian engineers perched on tables, tentacled janitors coiled around benches, even a pair of crystalline diplomats hovered, facets chiming curiosity. The scent of Myra's rice lingered in the vents, a siren call. Rays stood guard at the archway, scar livid. No one eats until the human returns. Tick-Tick, belly still rounded from the feast, added, and until it's safe. Mira entered with Kresk at her side, an uneasy alliance. In her arms, a single covered tray. The room hushed. She uncovered it. Dragon-fried rice, same base, but the chili oil replaced with mild sulfur pepper, protein cubes seared in plasma coils for dragon familiarity. Scallions floated atop like green comets. Tick-Tick inhaled. Smells like both? Kresk's frill lifted, pride, not protest. Collaborative calibration. Rays took the first bowl. One bite. His eyes closed. Mama's fire, he rumbled, with the human's warmth. The pack surged forward. Bowls clattered. Laughter, sharp, startled, echoed again. Mira improvised. Synth dough became dumpling wrappers. Mystery meat became filling. Kresk folded them with surgical precision, forearms a blur. Hatchlings taught Mira Draconis curses when dough stuck to her fingers. She taught them chopsticks, 30 tails thumping approval when Tick-Tick mastered the grip. The feast spilled beyond dragons. An avian engineer begged a dumpling, feathers fluffing in delight. A tentacled janitor traded a luminescent spice for seconds. The mess hall became a crucible of its own, species melting into shared hunger. Mira watched Tick-Tick feeds in a careful spoonful, the once-stricken hatchling's throat now healed. Kresk hovered nearby, frill relaxed for the first time. Your chaos, he admitted, has rhythm. But Myra's wrist pad blinked. Unidentified respiratory anomaly. Hatchling wing 3. Different hatchlings. Same trigger? She met Kresk's eyes. The alliance was fragile, the menu unfinished. The feast was joy, but the fire still smoldered. Tick-Tick's mind split open the way Draconis Theta once had. He was on the table, rice still warm on his tongue, when the screams began. Yet he was also 6 cycles younger, curled inside the incubation pod while the sky burned violet. Mama's claws pried the lid. Breathe, little star, she rasped, smoke curling from her nostrils. She pressed a charred root ear into his mouth. Bitter. Remember the taste, she said, then shoved him into Ray's arms as the pod sealed. The memory hit like a meteor. Tick-Tick staggered, claws skidding on the mess hall bench. Present and past collided, the scent of fried rice overlaying scorched root ear, Mama's voice echoing in Myra's gentle coaxing. He looked at the human, small, soft, wrong, and saw her stirring a pan the way Mama had stirred embers to keep the clutch warm. Ray's roar snapped the thread. Tick-tick. Speak! 3 hatchlings writhed on the far bench, throats swelling, wings thrashing. Their scales flushed crimson, dragon anaphylaxis. Tick-tick's heart hammered. Poison. The words slithered through the pack like venom. Myra's face drained of color. Kresk's frill flared triumphant. I warned you! But Tick-tick remembered Mama's last lesson. Fire purifies. He scrambled atop the table, tail lashing for balance. Rice scattered like constellations. 30 pairs of eyes fixed on him, the runt who had never led. It's not poison. His voice cracked, too small for the cavernous hall. He swallowed, tasting sesame and fear. It's messy, like Mama's. Like the night the sky fell. Silence rippled outward. Even the stricken hatchlings stilled, gasping. Tick-tick's memory surged again. The evacuation shuttle. Rays carrying him past burning creches. Parents cooking over wreckage, passing scorched tubers claw to claw. Eat together, they'd said. Remember together. The Clintar platters were flawless, crystalline, empty. They erased the taste of ash, of love, of them. He met Ray's gaze. The human didn't kill our world. She fed it. Ray's scar twitched. His wings unfurled, casting shadows like eclipse. The big hatchling had sworn to protect the pack, to honor the dead by refusing anything that wasn't Draconis. But Tick-tick's words cracked that vow. Rays looked at the writhing clutchmates, then at Mira, kneeling, hands trembling, ready to take the blame. Myra's voice cut through, soft but steel. I need the medbay. Now. Kresk blocked the archway. You will not. Rays moved. One stride, one sweep of his tail, and the chef staggered. Let her pass, Rays growled. Or I swear by the ashes, I'll drag you myself. The pack parted. Mira ran, boots pounding. Tick-tick leapt after her, wings buzzing. Behind them, Rays bellowed orders, hatchlings forming a chain to carry the stricken 3. The strike was over, but the cost was rising. Tick-tick's mind raced as he ran. Mama's root ear had been bitter, yes, but it had kept him alive. Myra's rice was strange, warm, to life. Both were love in different languages. He glanced back. Rays met his eyes, a nod passing between them, leader to leader for the first time. The medbay doors loomed. Tick-tick skidded to a halt beside Mira. Save them, he panted. Then feed us again. Message. Like home. Myra's hand brushed his horn. Deal, little star. But the doors hissed open to reveal the ship's medic already scanning the first collapsed hatchling. The readout pulsed red. Capsaicin analog. Esophageal flora reaction. Myra's creation had ignited a biological firestorm. The feast had ended, but the reckoning was just beginning, and Tick-tick knew, with the clarity of a child who had tasted both ash and hope, that the human's next meal would have to burn brighter than any bombardment to save them all. The mess hall lights had dimmed to emberglow, a concession to dragon dusk. 30 bowls steamed in perfect alignment, each mound of fried rice crowned with a single scallion ring. The hatchlings sat rigid, tails coiled, wings tucked so tightly the membranes creaked. Rays anchored the front bench, scar livid against his obsidian scales. Tick-tick stood beside Mira, clutching the empty test bowl like a trophy. Mira placed the final serving before Tick-tick. One rule, she said, voice low but caring. No one eats until he does. A collective inhale rippled through the hall. Kresk hovered at the archway, frill half raised, for arms twitching with the urge to intervene. Captain Vale perched on a rafter above, talons clicking against metal. Her feathers rustled, a sound like dry leaves. Tick-tick's snout dipped. The first grain touched his tongue. Sesame oil, soy, the faint char of brown protein. His eyes fluttered shut. A shudder ran from horn to tail tip. Then the bowl was in his claws, rice vanishing in frantic mouthfuls. Grains clung to his whiskers, he didn't care. A low, rolling purr vibrated his chest. Ray's nostrils flared. The scent reached him, warm, imperfect, human. He leaned forward, claws scraping the bench. Tick-tick, he rumbled. Speak? Tick-tick licked his chops. It tastes like Mama's stories, he said, voice cracking. Like the night she burned the root ears because the sky was on fire. Like home. Silence fractured. 3 smaller hatchlings, clutchmates with matching violet wing veins, slid from their benches. They crept forward, bellies dragging. Mira stepped aside, letting them pass. One by one, snouts lowered. The first cautious bite became a second, then a frenzy. Bowls clattered. Tails thumped the deck in rhythm. Crests surged forward. Contamination protocols. Vale's wings snapped out, barring him. Observe, she ordered, voice sharp as a raptor's cry. Mira watched Ray's. The big hatchling hadn't moved. His gaze locked on Tick-tick, now licking a bowl clean for the second time. A muscle jumped in Ray's jaw. Memory lived there, evacuation shuttles, parents' silhouettes against burning skies. He had carried Tick-tick from the pod himself, the runt's weight nothing against the grief. Mira knelt, eye level with Ray's. I can't give you Draconis Theta, she said softly. But I can give you this. 1 meal. Together. Ray's claws flexed, scoring the bench. We eat as pack, he said. Or not at all. Tick-tick waddled over, belly rounded, eyes bright. He placed a sticky claw on Ray's foreleg. It's not betrayal, he whispered. It's remembering. The hall held its breath. Ray's wings unfurled a fraction, membranes trembling. Then he lowered his head. The bowl slid toward him. 1 bite. A low growl, not anger, but surrender. The sound spread, hatchling after hatchling joining the feast. Rice flew. Laughter, a sharp, startled, echoed off the walls. Myra's knees buckled. She sat hard on the deck, exhaustion and relief colliding. Kresk stared at the chaos, frill limp. Vale's talons clicked once. Approval or warning, impossible to tell. Tick-tick nudged Myra's hand with his snout. More tomorrow? He asked, voice muffled by a mouthful of rice. Mira smiled, tired and fierce. Every tomorrow you want. But Ray's growl cut through the din. He stood, rice forgotten, staring at the far bench. 3 hatchlings had not moved. Their wings shook. Their throats worked soundlessly. One collapsed, claws scrabbling at his neck. The feast shattered into screams. The kitchen of the stellar creche was a cathedral of chrome and plasma vents, gravity plates humming at dragon normal. Mira slipped through the archway, boots squeaking on polished alloy. The air tasted of ozone and scorched cumin. Kresk's last experiment still clinging to the vents. She had 1 hour, 1 chance, and a fabricator that had never been asked to mimic Earth. Kresk blocked the central island, for arms folded like a living barricade. His frill quivered, not with rage now but calculation. You will ruin them, he rumbled. Charred proteins. Oxidized lipids. Your kind calls it flavor, we call it decay. Mira ignored him, palms already dancing over the fabricator's haptic panel. The machine whirred, confused by her requests. Jasmine rice, tamari, sesame oil, garlic, ginger. Ingredients Earth had abandoned for nutrient paste centuries ago. She overrode the safety protocols with her xenopedagogue clearance, heart-hammering. The printer spat out a pale block of protein paste. Emergency rations shaped like chicken. Good enough. Behind her, Kresk's secondary arms unfolded, gesturing to his team. 2 lesser Clintar chefs hissed, retreating to their stations. They feared contamination, feared the human taint. Mira felt their stares like hot coals. She filled a gravity pot with water, set it to boil. The Clintar had no word for boil. Their liquids were flash-heated in plasma coils. Steam curled, alien and fragrant. Mira cracked the protein block, cubed it with a ceramic knife. The blade was dull. Dragon claws didn't need edges, but it would do. A soft clink overhead. Tick-tick's snout peered from a ventilation grate, eyes luminous in the dim. He'd followed her scent. Myra's lips twitched. Spying little star? Tick-tick's tail flicked, dislodging dust. He said nothing, but his stomach growled loud enough to echo off the bulkheads. Kresk spun, frill flaring. Hatchlings are forbidden. Mira raised a hand. He stays. Witness. She turned back to the stove, drizzled oil into a pan. The sizzle was obscene in the sterile space. Garlic hit the heat, blooming gold. Ginger followed, sharp and bright. The scent punched through the ozone, a memory of Luna Colony's night markets. Kresk leaned closer, nostrils flaring despite himself. What sorcery? Maillard, Mira said. Browning. Trust me. She tossed in the protein cubes, stirring with a spatula that bent under dragon weight. The cubes crisped, edges curling. She added rice, cold from the printer, breaking clumps with her fingers. Soy sauce hissed, darkening the grains. Scallions, synthetic, but green enough, went in last, a final flourish. Tick-Tick dropped from the vent, landing light as ash. He crept to the counter, wings half spread for balance. Mira plated a small bowl, steam rising like incense. She knelt, offering it. For you. No sulfur. No perfection. Just lunch. Kresk loomed, ready to snatch it away. Mira met his eyes. One bite. Then you can document my failure. The chef's frill stilled. He stepped back, arms crossing again. Tick-Tick sniffed the bowl, tongue darting. The first grain touched his lips. His eyes widened. Then he devoured it, bowl scraping tile, tail thrashing in ecstasy. A low rumble escaped his throat, not hunger but joy. Myra's wrist pad chimed. 15 minutes remaining. Captain Vale's voice crackled through. Plus, report. Mira stood, wiping her hands on her coveralls. Tell the mess hall, lunch is ready. She looked at Kresk. And tell them the human didn't poison anyone. Yet. Tick-Tick licked the bowl clean, then looked up, eyes shining. More, he whispered. For Rays. For all. Kresk's frill drooped, defeat or wonder, Mira couldn't tell. The kitchen vents hummed, carrying the scent of fried rice into the corridors. Somewhere, 30 dragon stomachs answered with a chorus of growls. The hourglass was running out, but the fire was lit. The mess hall of the stellar creche thrummed with a silence heavier than any roar. 30 dragon hatchlings sat in perfect rows, wings folded tight, tails coiled like springs. Before each scaled snout rested a platter, translucent slabs of synth meat pulsing faint violet, crystal vegetables chiming softly when nudged. Steam rose in fragrant spirals, sulfur, ozone, and the metallic tang of plasmasear. None of it had been touched for 3 cycles. At the head of the hall, Chef Kresk loomed. 4 arms crossed over his obsidian apron, the Clintar's frilled neck flaring crimson with frustration. His guild had fed war fleets, tempered the palates of neutron star forges, yet these whelps refused perfection. A low hiss escaped his lipless maw. They mock us. Mira Voss stood at the threshold, human small among the vaulted ceilings. 28 years old, Lunaborn, her coveralls still carried the faint dust of Earth's archived greenhouses. She was the orphanage's xenopedagogue, fluent in 7 dialects of grief but only one of cuisine, her grandmother's. The hatchling's refusal gnawed at her more than hunger ever could. The ship's AI flickered above the tables, holographic glyphs scrolling. Metabolic alert. Glycogen reserves critical in specimens 4 to 7. The youngest Tick-Tick, barely larger than Myra's torso, swayed on his bench. His amber eyes were glassy, yet his snout remained clamped shut. Mira stepped forward. The deck plates chilled her boots. Gravity here was dialed to dragon comfort, 1.4 G that made her knees ache. Kresk, she said, voice steady despite the strain, let me try. The chef's frill snapped upright. Your species scorches flesh until it blackens. You season with salt. The word dripped contempt, as if she'd suggested feeding them radioisotopes. Mira met his glare. They're starving for memory, not nutrients. A ripple passed through the hatchlings. Tick-Tick's tail uncurled a fraction. He was the smallest, runt of the last clutch to escape Draconis Theta's fall. Mira had found him curled inside a cracked incubation pod, clutching a charred root ear like a talisman. She'd sung him to sleep with Mandarin lullabies because Draconis songs were ash. Kresk's secondary arms gestured to the platters. These are calibrated to their genome. Every amino chain, every mineral ratio. Is wrong, Mira finished. She knelt beside Tick-Tick, ignoring protocol. Up close, his scales were dull, the emerald sheen leached to moss. "Hey, little star. Remember the story? The girl who traded her voice for legs, then learned the sea still spoke in her bones." Tick-Tick's nostrils flared. A tremor ran through his wings. From the far bench, rays rose. The largest hatchling, scarred along one flank where shrapnel had kissed him during evacuation. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. "We eat together or not at all." The others stilled, waiting for his lead. Myra's wrist pad chimed. Captain Vale's avian visage appeared, feathers slicked with irritation. Plus, the Clintar report is final. Another skipped meal triggers mandatory sedation and tube feeding. The pause. "You have 1 hour." Kresk's frill flush triumph. Mira felt the deck tilt, not gravity, but consequence. Sedation meant restraints, meant nightmares of the bombardment replayed in chemical sleep. She'd seen the records, hatchlings waking with phantom burns. She stood. "Then I'll cook." The chef barked a laugh that rattled cutlery. "With what? Your emergency bars? Your boiled leaves? With what's in the fabricator? And memory." Mira turned to the hatchlings. "1 meal. Human style. If it's ash, you can spit it at me." Tick-Tick's tongue flicked, tasting the air. A spark returned to his eyes, curiosity, dangerous and alive. Rays studied her, pupils narrowing to slits. "1 bowl," he conceded. "For Tick-Tick. If he eats, we consider." Kresk spun toward the kitchen arch, tail lashing. "This is sacrilege. I will document every violation." Mira was already moving. She paused at Tick-Tick's side, brushing a knuckle over the soft spot between his horns. "Save your fire, little star. Lunch is coming." As she strode toward the kitchen, the hatchlings' gazes tracked her like comets. Behind her, Kresk's hiss faded beneath the rising thunder of 30 empty stomachs. The silence broke, not with roars, but with the soft, treacherous sound of hope.